Well, it's time for your questions and some honest answers. Pat, this first one comes from Jan, who says, if people say Jesus isn't real, then why did they get offended when we talk about him?
You know, it's amazing the effect that Jesus has on people. And it's amazing how often they use Jesus as a curse word. And, you know, again, if he's not real, why do you always swear by him? Why is even he's become a curse? Here is the Son of God who gave his life for everybody, and yet people are offended when we talk about Jesus. Well, I'm offended because I'm Muslim or I'm Jewish or I'm whatever, and you're talking about Jesus. Well, Jesus is the Son of God. So you ask the question, well, because he is real, because the relationship that we have to him depends on eternal life for us. And we receive him or we turn him down. You know, we've got to watch that, all right?
Okay, this is Neil, who says, in Acts 15, where Paul separates from Barnabas over a disagreement involving the inclusion of John Mark on a missionary journey, what was so large an offense that justified Paul in harboring such an attitude of unforgiveness? Is that not contrary to the very fruits of the Spirit that Paul would eventually author?
Well, it seems to. You know, the Greek in that, they had a paroxysm. They really got mad. And I think what they were dealing with was a young man who left them. They were in the middle of really intense missionary work where they desperately needed a third party in their team, and they had gone to great lengths to bring him along. And all of a sudden, the young man leaves. He quits. Well, that set them off, and Barnabas said, oh, let's take the kid along. And Paul said, no way. Paul wanted doctrinal purity above everything else. It wasn't that he was mad at somebody, but he wanted commitment, and he wanted people on the team who were totally committed. So whether you think that was extreme, I'm sure it would be considered extreme now. In those days, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is Lori, Pat, who says 6 years ago, at age 45, I had a massive stroke and I'm still disabled. I feel like I've lost my wonderful life. I had a wonderful career and was very athletic. I fear I'll never hold my future grandchildren of my 3 children. My sister had to type this for me. How do I accept this new life when I feel like I'm a burden to everyone?
Well, you're not a burden, but, you know, my wife had a stroke, and she's in a wheelchair, and it's a year later, and she's recovering, but she is fighting back. Mm-hmm. She is working in rehab. She is walking. She's doing exercises, and she's doing speech therapy and everything to get back. And I think in your case, you can come back. Those brain cells can renew. If you take the proper nutrients and the proper exercise and do those things, the brain will renew. But you say, what is it for you? You can always pray. You know, people have Lou Gehrig's disease. Maybe they can't talk, but they can pray. And you can communicate with God, and your prayers can be effective all over the world. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, don't give up, because God will hear your prayer, and one day you will be healed.
Yeah. This is Joni, who says, there are so many not yet reached in our world with the gospel, good news of Jesus. Do those who die or have died, never knowing about Jesus, go to hell? If they do indeed go on to heaven, we wouldn't need missionaries, right?
Well, I think you're a little bit overstating the whole thing. But here's the deal, according to Romans. We are judged according its action in light of privilege. Got that? Action in light of privilege. So what is your privilege? What have you learned? Have you heard the gospel? Have you been exposed to the gospel? And if you so, have you acted in accordance with that? That's going to be the judgment of you. Somebody's out in some Hottentot country, someplace that he's an animist, and all he sees is the sun coming up. But he sees that the sun comes up, and somebody put the sun up there and the earth the way it is. And he says, I want to serve the God who put the sun in. There was I understand there was an idol worshiper who was carving out little idols. And he says, these little idols are things that my hands are made. I want to worship the God who made the hand that makes the idols. See, that was his privilege, and he acted in light of it. All right.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions we have for today, but we thank you. Great answers. Thank you.
Okay.